what is the experience that you crave? And then in return, can you deliver that experience for someone else? So for me, it was, how could I create this experience that Black women needed in a way that was fun and exciting and delivered all things a woman, right? That's what I was able to deliver. How you deliver it is totally differently than how I deliver it. How someone listening, they know what they want to see. Deliver it that way. Don't try to mimic someone else's delivery on it, because it's always going to be better when you use your own sauce to deliver it versus trying to copy someone else's.
Hey guys, what's good? And welcome to the CoSign Life. If you're watching this video, that means you co-sign us and we co-sign you. So here are a couple of ways to support us at CoSign Magazine. Number one, view the description below, click the link, and purchase an issue of CoSign Magazine. Just like this one right here, physical. You can purchase this. Number two, you can also support us by purchasing CoSign merch. Hit the link below and it'll take you to all our past merch items, and we'd love to have your support and see you wear CoSign Magazine. To another episode of CoSign Conversations, and today we have the founder and CEO of Boss Women Media, Marty McDonald. How are you doing today?
I'm so good to see you.
You too. It's been a minute.
It has, way too long.
It has.
COVID has just interrupted life.
Definitely. But I have been a fan from far. I tap in, make sure I comment here and there and like your pictures and show love, because with us both being in the media industry, I understand the grind and the hustle and know how it goes. So I salute you for everything you've been doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And same to you, my friend.
Thank you.
It's hard out here in these streets, but the world needs to see multiple media companies that look like them, that support them, that are rallying for them. So I appreciate the work that you're doing in Dallas as well.
I appreciate it, definitely. So let's get a little bit about the backstory before we get into today. So I remember the first time we met, I want to say you were still working in corporate at that time. It was years ago.
Yeah, it was.
I want to say you were still working corporate and then doing Boss Women on the side, correct?
Yes.
So for people who's watching this for the first time, kind of give us an idea of where the idea came from. What was your aha moment? What made you want to start Boss Women Media?
I always say to people, if you don't see the possibility of something, you don't know what your possibilities can be. And so I was grinding in corporate America, trying to navigate this space and this place that didn't look like me, but I assumed that this is what success looked like because so many people told me that's what success looked like.
Right.
And I was just miserable in this space, to be honest. And I thought, there's no possible way in 20, 30 years from now, this is what my life is going to be. And I didn't see other people around me who were happy when they made it to the level that so many people told me was successful.
Right.
And so I remember just driving home one day. I got on the phone with a friend. I said, hey, do you want more? Are these the things that you want? Because these are the things I want. And I know other women who want these things too. Right. We should really just create a brunch. Okay. Bring some women together. I'll get my mentor in the room. I remember the day like yesterday. It was May 26, 2016.
Okay.
I had my first brunch experience at Neiman Marcus Cafe. 25 women showed up. Right. And I said, this is a thing, but I did not know what the thing was. Okay. And so I called the company Boss Women Who Brunch.
Okay, I remember.
And I just had these brunches. And so fast forward to later 2017, the fall, I went to an event, a conference in Atlanta. When I walked into the event, I said, this is exactly what I want to create for Black women. It was that possibility.
Right.
When you see something, you know that then it's possible. And I hadn't seen it yet, so I didn't know. But when I did see it, I just ran with it and kept that vision in the forefront of what I wanted to create.
What conference was that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I don't feel comfortable sharing the name of the conference.
No problem.
Because it was not for us.
Okay.
And so,
Got you.
yes, and I always tell the story, and I always say the conference was not for us, and I want them coming back to me on the gram talking about, so you didn't think this was for us? Yes.
Nah, this makes sense. Okay, so talk to us about that first branch. You said you had your mentor come out. So what company were you at that previously?
So I was at my last corporate gig. Okay. I was at CC's Pizza. I was over product innovation and development at that company. I was the only black woman in my department. I was the second black woman at the company. Right. I didn't see any black people in leadership there. So that all played a part of my psyche, right? Like, what does my field look like? How am I going to navigate this? And my mentor, who was working for another organization at the time, she had really made it up in the space of marketing and innovation. And when I connected with her, she also didn't seem happy with the success she had. And it really was kind of like, that was the moment where I had to reevaluate what I wanted and why I wanted the things I was asking for or I was working towards. Because it didn't seem like she was happy either. So I didn't want to grind so hard for that thing. Right. And then I get it, and it was like, this is not what I really even signed up for. Right. Now, corporate America is totally different now than when I was there. They're having brave conversations in corporate America now. The space is different. But when I was there, it was still isolating. It was still imposter syndrome driven. It was still assimilation. And so, I decided to quit my corporate gig in 2018. Okay. To pursue, at the time, I had changed the name Boss Woman Media as my full-time gig, and I never looked back.
Full-time. Okay, let's talk about that, because a lot of times entrepreneurs push, you got to jump, you got to fly. And then other entrepreneurs push, make sure you have a plan, make sure you have 6 months saving, make sure you have your ducks in a row. Which one were you?
I did not have a plan.
Okay, you flew.
I had a good husband. Okay. But I often say this. I did not have a plan, but I had a vision. I knew what I wanted to create. Okay. I was very clear on that. And I think that so often, if the plan isn't in place and we don't think it's this perfect way, we think, oh, well, I can't do it. But the plan is going to change. Right. And you are equipped today with the information that you need to succeed today. For tomorrow, you're going to get that on a later mountain that you decide to climb. Right. But for today, I have to focus on what I have today. Right. And I am equipped with what I need today to navigate what is for me to navigate today.
Okay. So in 2018, was Boss Women Media, which you just changed the name to, was it already in the green, or were you in the red, or where were you at in your business aspect in 2018?
No, I was totally in the red. Okay. I had not made any money. I was actually planning my first conference. Okay. My first conference was the Vision Board Conference. It happened in February of that year. I quit my job. My last day of working, my last paycheck was December 31st, basically. Okay. And I bet everything on this event. I flew in Nicole Kane of XO Nicole as my keynote speaker. I had all these influencers from out of town. I probably flew in about 15 women. We had 250 women show up to it. It was actually in the basement of an apartment, downtown Dallas. We packed it out. It was an incredible experience. It was an incredible learning experience for me in so many ways. But I put everything all in. I bet on myself. I wasn't counting on anyone else to do it for me. I was trying to prove, to show what I wanted to create, how I was going to create it. I remember the videographer that I hired at the time, who's still my videographer today. She had just quit her job. I didn't even have money to pay her. I said, hey, if you stick with me, I'll take you everywhere I go. I'll connect you with everybody that I know. And to this day, last summer, we filmed an Amazon live conference for Black Girl Magic through her. So it's just a testament to show that, like, even when I first started, I wasn't equipped with what I needed
Right.
for then. Like, I had to go through certain things. I had to learn certain lessons. I had to see. And so having that event, the success of that event was really the framework of who Boss Women Media was going to be, and how I was going to evolve with it.
Gotcha. So I want to talk about that conference, because even though that one was in person, you did a lot of it, if not all of it, yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what that takes, especially just, quitting from your corporate job. You flew in 15 speakers. Of course, you had to house them, etc. You're great at decor too, so you had to add your sauce to the event, and that all takes a lot. At this time, I mean, we know now that you're excellent at doing corporate partnerships. At that time, did you already have those relationships, or was this something all out of pocket that you were just figuring out?
It was all out of pocket. I actually didn't even understand what a corporate sponsorship looked like at the time. It was all out of pocket until Curls was my first sponsor. They gave me a check for $500. And I thought, if somebody gave me a check for $500, they give me a check for $20,000. Like, and then I stopped thinking there. Like, I thought, if I can get a $500 check, certainly I can get a $20,000 check.
Right.
And it just goes to show how, if you limit your thinking, because now I'm like, if I get a $20,000 check, you better believe I can get $1 million check.
Of course.
If I can get $1 million check, I can get a $25 million check.
Of course.
But it's all about the parameters of your own mindset and how you think about it. So I remember getting that $500 check, and I thought, oh my God, somebody just gave me $500? Like, this is incredible. I understood the value of money, but I didn't understand the concept of why they would, right? Now I totally get it.
For sure.
And so that was the only check that I got for that event. That event cost me $25,000. And I sold about $28,000 worth of tickets.
Okay.
So I came out at a $3,000 profit.
Right.
But it was not about the money.
Of course, right.
It was about the content that I was producing. It was about the women that I was going to get talking about this.
Right.
And it was about the speakers that I strategically got across the world, across the globe, that could help me.
Right.
As my name could be in conversations in spaces when they talked about someone who through these experiences. I wanted to be the top of mind for that.
Right. So what's great about that, was this always, when you talk about strategically planning, this has always been from the beginning, right? Or was this something, as you continue to grow, you started to see the vision and started like fine tuning it?
That conference that I stepped in that day, that always was a part of my vision. I saw it, right? I knew that it was going to cost a ton of money to implement something like that. And so I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get the money, but I knew the experience I wanted to deliver for Black women. Whether they were entrepreneurs or working in corporate America, I knew I wanted to deliver an experience that was just holistic, from all of the five senses, to the sight, to the smell, to the feel, to the touch, to the connections. I wanted to deliver that for us because I had never seen that done for us before.
So now that you have your first huge event out the way, basically the proof of concept, where you take it from there. Now you know it's possible.
Yeah.
So where do you go next?
Yeah. So as I shared with you before, I came from product innovation, brand marketing. So I understood how to tell a story, right? I understood how to create a pitch deck that was really pivotal in my business model. And so that I had that event in February. That April, I flew to LA, went to another conference. I went to the Girl Boss Rally with Sophia Amoroso.
Okay.
And so at that conference, it was cool to experience and to see it. But I was at that conference to connect with speakers. And I wasn't connecting with speakers from the perspective of who are the celebrities and the influencers. No. Who are the women on these panels that are working in corporate America and have been a part of these corporate sponsorships for this event? Because they can do it for my events.
And
so when I went to the event, I went to a conversation with the CEO of Sugarfina. I remember her talking about these taboo gummy bears and how they were so proud of creating these gummy bears. They had created a green juice gummy for like April Fools or something like that. And I was just sitting there listening to her talk. I had just read this Nielsen data report called Black Girl Magic is Real. And I thought, she should create a gummy bear called Black Girl Magic. I'm going to go tell her after this. And so it's so interesting how we fangirl or fanboy over the celebrity.
Right.
So there were influencers and some celebrities on the panel, but Rosie, the CEO of Sugarfina, nobody was checking for her afterwards. Check for the CEOs afterwards. Check for the women who can write the check afterwards. Don't check for the person who can just take the Instagram picture.
Right.
So I go up to her and I go, "Hey, I'm Marty McDonald. Do you know what Black Girl Magic is?"
Yeah.
And this like older white lady was like, "What? Can I even say that out loud?" And I go, "Black Girl Magic is a buying power and behavior that you've never seen before. It's a rallying call, and you should really tap into it. As a matter of fact, you should create a gummy bear called Black Girl Magic. Black women would come to your store in flocks to buy this because they're finally seen." And she looks at me and she's like, "What?" I go, "And I'll actually help you sell it. I'll pop up in your stores and I'll have events where Black women come and we can create this gummy bear together."
Oh, wow.
And she goes, "Send me an email, contact@Sugarfina." And I thought, she gave me this very generic email address.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
So I'm like, when I get home, I'm going to write her the pitch deck that makes her call me.
Right.
8 weeks later, this lady gives me a call and says, you can do the 5-city tour of Black Girl Magic in our stores. And I popped up in Dallas, LA, New York, Atlanta, and Houston. Wow. And that was the pivotal piece of how I transformed from being just this little Dallas event to really connecting throughout the U.S.
So it took her 8 weeks to get back to you. You probably was like, all right, she doesn't want to do it.
Nope. Actually, I believed that this lady was going to email me back. Like, I was confident.
Right.
And I believed that what I was delivering to her, she would be silly not to call me back, because she did not have this audience of women to tap into.
All right, I like that. I like that way of thinking. We'll say this though. Okay, so I do pitch decks as well, and people always ask me to help them, right? So I would say, I'm gonna ask you this: when you do it, right, what are some things you have to include? And when you're pitching to, let's say, one partner and then another partner, are you sending them the same deck, or are you creating individual proposals?
I create individual proposals. And at this point, it's so relationship built, right? And so it's easy. You can write an individual proposal, but now I can send them what it's going to look like, because I have past experiences. I can show what their brand is going to look like in it. But at that time, I didn't have any of this experience, right? And so I catered the pitch deck to what I heard her say on the panel, which was her problem, right? Her problem was there was this secondary audience that she hadn't tapped into. At the bottom line, ROI is ROI. And if she wants to grow her ROI, I was going to help her do that. I was solution oriented in the pitch deck. And so often we can write generic pitch decks, or we can just send a generic email, and you're not solving a problem to anyone. If a brand is going to say yes to you, it's because they see themselves in whatever it is that you're delivering, not just to write you a check.
For sure. No, that makes exact sense. And I hate when people send me decks to help them and it's completely generic, or they'll do like, hey, these are the options, but it's not like, how does the brand benefit? That's what you have to be able to articulate. How are they going to benefit? There's so many other companies, brands, businesses that they can, give their checks to. What's going to make you specifically the reason why they have to partner with you? And sometimes we can't tell them what that is, but you have to realize when you're working with people, like when you figure that out, express that, and that's why they want to partner with you. So that's with Sugarfina, right? So when you start to move on and start working with Capital One, Square, all these other companies, are you doing the same thing? Are you being solution oriented, or are you?
Absolutely. The Capital One deal happened as I was planning Boss Woman of the Year 2019. I actually was speaking at something, I actually met someone in the green room who worked for Capital One. And she was like, I follow you on Insta, da 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 da. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I would love the opportunity to pitch you.
Right.
I have some solutions that could be really cool to benefit the Capital One brand and the sentiment of the brand, and how our community can benefit from the brand. And I remember I have a video of me walking into Capital One headquarters. I was pitching them the 25 city tour of Black Girl Magic.
Okay.
I had a case study from a 5-city tour. I wanted to increase to a 25-city tour. And I remember like going into the room, and this was like my big moment.
Right.
This was like the icing on the cake. This is where the deal of all deals. And I just remember in the room, everybody saying, no, no, no. And it was just different departments. No, no, no. And it was this one department out of DC that was the PR department. And she was like, I'll take it back to my boss. And so I said, okay, well, I know I have this event coming up.
Right.
I want to fly you in. I want you to come to this event and experience what we deliver, what we do. And so she came to Boss Woman of the Year. She saw it firsthand. And really, that was my selling point.
That sold her.
That sold her, yeah.
No, that's amazing. And you don't have to tell us which one, but people love to hear numbers. You don't have to tell which brand, but what has been like your biggest partnership number-wise today?
Yeah, we have been able to secure over the 2020 year, we were able to secure about 800,000.
2020? Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
And 2021, we were able to secure about 950. So we're right on the tipping point of a million. 2021.
No, I'm saying, but 2022 you will.
Oh, 2022 is our year.
Yeah.
But for us, it's not necessarily just all about the dollars that we get in. Right. It's the impact that we then go make, right?
So yeah, you do give.
And so we've given away. Last year we gave away $200,000. Okay. Year before we gave away $150,000. In 2022 we're giving away $500,000. Because if my company grows but my community don't grow, then I'm doing myself a disservice. Right. If I lift up, I pull somebody up behind me, because I know how hard it can be. But most importantly, I know how hard it is for a Black woman creating a business, right, and just wanting to be seen and heard. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that she's seen and heard and funded at the same time.
Right. So talk about these initiatives to where you give back. What are they, and who they look for, and how can women seek to apply for these opportunities?
Yeah, so we have we have our Black Girl Magic Pitch competition. We've done it 3 years in a row. This will be our 4th year. And the Black Girl Magic Pitch competition allows women to submit their pitches to get up to $50,000 in grant money. But as we've kind of built it up and looked to see, like in pitch decks, what people's problems are, right, what are the biggest thing with what women are facing, what we realize is it's funding, but then what do you do with the funding when you get it? Because I can be given $1 million, but if I don't know what to do with $1 million, right, you going to Gucci, right? Like, so, for us, we decided that last year we were not just going to have the grant opportunities, we were going to be really intentional. So we launched this program called Boss Business Showers. And instead of throwing a baby shower, we're throwing women business showers. And so we're committed to selecting 40 women in 2022. We selected 5 women in 2021, where we're not just giving them funds, but we're giving them mentorship in the area of which they need. Last year, which feels like last month, literally, we threw a business shower for a company out of Dallas called Ezra Coffee. Okay. She said that she needed help with social media and getting the word out about her business. She had these beautiful packaging, beautiful branding. And so we said, we're going to hire influencers for her. Okay. So we connected with 3 influencers that we have relationships with: Stephanie Taylor Jackson, Jade Kendall, Brittany, capital B, Brittany. And so we said, hey, can you post and share? We're going to hire you to do this.
Right.
And then we pitched her out to WFAA. We said, hey, there's this Black-owned business. Are you interested in doing a segment on her? They did a Christmas segment. And so we're not just giving people dollars.
Right.
We're giving them with the connections that I have.
For sure.
And then we gave her a check for $5,000. So
That's amazing.
we threw a shower. Her friends came, and then her friends gave her a check.
Oh, wow.
Collectively. And so that's how we rally around. That's how we change our community. That's how we change the stories and the narratives of Black women. And so we are committed to doing that through that program alone. Of course, we're going to have other pitch programs throughout the year as we pop up in different spaces and places.
That's amazing. One thing you have a strong hold on is relationships and community. Where do you say, we talk about social media a lot, but where do you say LinkedIn falls in? Because one thing I've been trying to work on and trying to explain to people is LinkedIn is where you can find the corporate people. Right?
Yeah.
That's where you can find them. Like Instagram, you really can't, see who's who. You know what I'm saying? They probably don't want to be known like that on Instagram, but on LinkedIn, that's where it's for. Like, how would you say LinkedIn played a role in any of your success?
Because I come from this past corporate career, already had a presence on LinkedIn, and to be honest, I haven't even utilized LinkedIn in the matter of what its potential could be. But if you're posting it on Instagram, you should be posting it on LinkedIn, because what you're posting on Instagram shouldn't be so unprofessional where you can't post it on LinkedIn if you are a business owner, right? You just never know the visibility of which someone may see you in that space and place. It was super cool. The CEO of Capital One posted about Black Girl Magic on Twitter. Oh, wow. And so, that was just such a really cool moment for our brand. I was able to then go post that on LinkedIn, that the CEO of Capital One just posted about our event on Twitter. And so that gives more visibility and it gives credibility. So
social proof.
And so somebody who's at another corporation, they're like, the CEO is backing the program that they're creating. Right. Let me share this with maybe my vice president, my director. At the end of the day, I believe this: sponsorship begets more sponsorship, right? Relationships beget more relationship, however you want to define it. But if you're not showing up and you're not showing to everyone what you do, what you're capable of doing, nobody knows. Right. And so LinkedIn is just that tool where you get to show up and showcase who you are, what you do, what your skill set is. Right. And it's just really telling that story so that people can see it and know.
Right. I want to get into the virtual conference and talk about that. But before that, I have to ask this. Have you run into a situation yet, because you have a lot of relationships and partnerships, to where there's conflict of interest? So if you work with one banking institution, you can't work with this other one, and how do you kind of navigate that space? Yeah.
So in every contract that I sign, right, I'm looking at clauses to ensure that I'm protected and the brand is protected. I would never have a conference and have JP Morgan Chase and Capital One together, right? Because simply I've built a relationship with one brand that I want them to be able to authentically show up to our community, so I would never jeopardize that with the other. But that doesn't mean that I could never work with the JP Morgan Chase at a later time or on another project because of how I can show up for them. So I think that for anybody who may run into that, you just got to be really clear on what does your contract say. What have you communicated and committed to the brand that you're working with to ensure that you're not getting into sticky situations like that? But then in working with I think of it as partnership. I never really even used the word sponsorship. It's just that I am partnering with them. There's somebody on that team who has committed to working on this project with me. I'm going to show up for them. I'm going to give them my best. I'm going to completely make sure that their brand is shown up in what I'm doing. I take pride in it. It's like I'm working for that company for however long that we have this partnership opportunity together. And so I'm going to give them the best as if I was even working for the organization myself. So I don't necessarily run into those issues because I'm not I'm not looking at it from the perspective, somebody just wrote me a check, making it up, $10,000. I'm going to take $8,000 and pay myself, and I'm going to give them $2,000 worth of work.
Right.
If I committed to doing a $10,000 project, I've already cost out how much it's going to cost to do a $10,000 project.
Right.
I'm going to deliver what they paid for, and I'm not just going to slap their logo on it simply because they came on board.
No, for sure. No, that makes sense. When we get to the virtual side, one feedback that I've heard as far as the city of Dallas is working with like a lot of partners is, do you think you've been able to grow at rapid speed and with partnerships because you don't only target this city? Like when you did that 5-city tour, it made you a national media company.
Right.
Do you think that attributes to like the success of other
Absolutely.
partners?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Where if I had not stayed focused only on Dallas, it would have put me in a position where I was not going to be able to work with a lot of national brands who were trying to reach people in different areas. Right. Everybody has a target audience and city that they're trying to get more customers, acquisitions, what have you. Now I can truly say I have a mix in the state of Texas, not in the city of Dallas. I have a huge community in Atlanta, DC, New York, LA. We have a big following. And so that allows me to then say that we are a U.S. national brand. Right. We're not, and to be honest, I can go beyond that. Because by us having our virtual event, we showed up in 33 countries. Oh, wow. We had 22,000 people register in 2020 for Black Girl Magic. And so now I can actually say we are a global brand. We had lots of Black women in London show up for us, and Jamaica show up for us. And so I can then take that data back to the partners and say, hey, are you looking for women in these areas? Because these are where we have a community at.
And what you do a great job at is, even though you're, national and global, you still seem to keep it in Dallas, right? Like you do you're still doing the Boss Woman of the Year, correct? You have that, and your virtual conference you're shooting and bringing them here. So I really respect that too, because a lot of times Dallas doesn't get a lot or get the light shined on them. So even though you're growing huge audience, you're still keeping it in Dallas and bringing these partners to show what Dallas has. So that's kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But let's talk about adapting now. We talked offline. Adapting virtually for you has been a blessing, an absolute blessing. But for people who's been having problems, maybe it's building that virtual community as strong as they were that in person. What would you equate your success to, or what tips would you give them to making people want to show up?
So in the pandemic, I was pregnant. So I had to adapt and I was going to have to change the way I was adapting anyway, simply because I was pregnant in the pandemic. We were planning Black Girl Magic. It was supposed to be it was supposed to be a 7-city tour with Capital One, and we had to change everything. The crazy part is that March 7, 2020, we had this event called 100 Women Sitting at the Table. We flew 100 women into Dallas from all over the United States. Wow. March 8th, the world shut down. A couple of women didn't show up because they were like, there's this thing called COVID, and my company will not let me get on an airplane. And I was like, what? This is crazy. Yeah. And in March 8th, the world shut down. I had already been committed to doing this 7-city tour, and so I had to switch. I had to pivot. So what do? I start researching what are people doing right now? How are people pulling off these events? And I just didn't want to do a Zoom event. I didn't want it to look like how everybody else's event looked like. And so I said, we're going to produce this like a show. Like we're going to produce it like a show. I'm going to rent out a studio. At this time, I couldn't fly anybody in because it's 2020 and people are like scared, right? And so we filmed Black Girl Magic in July of 2020. It was about 25 hours of content that we edited. It took a lot of time, a lot of energy. We just made it look like we were proud of it. We didn't just half-ass it. We made it look where the stamp of approval of a Black woman being proud. And so, but we wanted to still give people the same experience. So we took a big investment, and we shipped out 5,000 boxes to the first 5,000 women who signed up. They were going to get their boss box in the mail of the swag that they would have gotten if they came in person. So Cream of Nature was our sponsor. We had hair care products, hair clips. We had H&M as a sponsor. They gave black bags out from this black artist. We had Capital One, of course. We had Square. We had Vistaprint. We had all these sponsors, Toyota, in this box that showed up in this curated way, and it made our audience feel like they were tapped into something differently. I mean, our Instagram just flooded with people posting their box that week of to get them excited about what we were delivering. And I believe that was the way we were able to truly keep our audience engaged, was we weren't just throwing up a link for an event for them to tune into. This was Black Girl Magic. We were going to show them all facets of Black Girl Magic from the beginning to the end. And so that's how we really were able to show up for them and get 22,000 women to sign up for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
That's amazing. How big is your team now?
So now there's 6 of us.
6 of you. Okay. And what roles?
We're small but mighty.
Yeah, really. What roles have you filled?
So we have a videographer, a photographer that's our editor. We have a content producer that writes all of our social, writes all of our blog. I have an assistant. We have a graphic designer. We have now a producer because we're about to start producing television shows. Oh, wow. And I'm missing somebody else. And
they'll forgive you.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not coming to me right now. Oh, we have a web designer. Okay. Yes.
Gotcha. Yes. So we can't skip over this. So 2022 TV.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about that. Is it going to be streamed?
We're looking at all of our options right now and what that may look like. But obviously, streaming platforms are huge right now. There's some streaming platforms that are looking for new ways to explore a diverse audience, to get more content. Everybody's looking for more content. It's in how you're delivering the content that's going to really capture the audience. So we're excited to really shift from just, I once said Boss Woman Media is an offline, online women's empowerment community and media company. But we are really leaning into storytelling and making impact with the narratives of Black women, how Black women are told and how they're shown up. And we want to be in the forefront of delivering inspiration and creativity and possibility to our audience, and not just for the adult woman. I've recently launched a brand called El Olivia, which is for little girls. And so I want to be a part of storytelling from 0 to infinite amount of age for the Black woman. Because at any age, you can change the trajectory of whatever your life is to create it to what you want it to be. And I just want to be a part of that.
That's amazing. Also an author now?
Yes. I did not think that I knew I wanted to write a book. I never thought I wanted to write a children's book. But, like I said, I was pregnant in the pandemic. It was very interesting being pregnant in that space. I had never delivered a baby before. I've been pregnant before, and I've had a couple of miscarriages, unfortunately. But the isolation of what 2020 gave in such a unique time to deliver a child was extremely hard. But when I was 30 or about 30 weeks pregnant, I found out that my baby had this disease called congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which basically meant that her intestines, her spleen, and her liver had covered her lungs. And when she was going to be born, we were going to have a surgery for it all to be pushed down to its proper place. And so her whole birthing plan changed. She delivered, we had the surgery, and then we spent 35 days in the NICU for her to recover, get healthy so she could come home. In that 35-day period, it was weird because there were so many things happening. I was pitching brands still. I was going back and forth from the NICU, still trying to have a mental state and figure out what does 2021 even look like. And there was a little boy next door to her who I never saw his mom. And I just thought that would never be my daughter's story. I want her to know that even if her mom and her dad is not ever here, if something happens, that she's not alone because God is with her.
Right.
And so I wrote the book for the little boy, for the nurse to go read to him as like just words of encouragement and affirmation. I sent it to my designer and I said, what do you think you could turn this into? And she was like, oh, I love this. It'll be a beautiful illustration. And so we published a children's book last summer called You're Not Alone, of really just the story of how God is with you, and that no matter what you face, you are not alone. And so since then, I'm coming out with my second children's book, February the 14th, called Mama, We Made It, all about the first year of life through the lens of my daughter's eyes. I'm saying it to us. So yeah, I'm really just motivated by telling these stories so Black little girls, brown little girls see their possibility, but just most importantly, see themselves and things and places. And if I can be the vehicle where I can bring that up for her, so that she can see it, so it's a little bit easier for her than I'll put myself out there any day.
That's amazing. For somebody who's accomplished so much, family, business, mentorships, community, giving back, like, where do you see success? How do you define success for you?
Yeah, so often we think success and we equate it to dollars.
Right.
And to be honest, you can have as much money in the world but be unfulfilled. For me, how I define success and what it looks like is making sure that my family is good. Not making sure just my immediate family is good, but my daughter's children and her children. I work for generational wealth. I want to create impact when I'm not here, that my family remembers my name and they say, because she did, now I can. That's how I define success. I define success also by bringing others along with me. I just think it's so important that our community know how important it is to bring someone along with you so that it can be a little bit easier for them. It is hard being an entrepreneur. Man. It is the hardest thing I have ever done, but it is the most rewarding thing of knowing that this is what you've created. And when it's not just you focus and you've created for others, that's a part of the success.
For sure. I always wanted to ask a fellow media person, what is like a question, because media, we're always doing interviews, right? So what is one question that you always wished like somebody would have asked you?
Asked me?
Asked you.
Wow, I've never even thought. Asked me.
Because we're so busy telling other people's stories, right? That we kind of like put ours to the side so that we can focus on others. But like, is there ever something like you wish you were able, to share with your community that you just haven't had the opportunity yet?
Yeah. This summer when we taped Black Girl Magic, one of the hosts who I use often, who's like my sister and great friend, Lady Jade, was like, I want you to tell your story. You have to tell more of your story. So I began to share a little bit about like how I grew up and the trajectory of the life that really led me on this pathway. And so it was interesting telling that story back. Because so often people think, oh, it's just been easy. It's just been, no. I come from the first generation college grad in my family. I come from not always being on the right pathway. I come from a space where I was a little bit lost in identity because I was biracial and trying to figure out who I am and which side to choose, if you will. But it's so crazy. And so sometimes I don't ever get to tell my story because I am telling everybody else's story. But the question really would be, who is Marty? Like, what makes you tick? Why do you get up every day and do this? And it's really because, I want to make sure that my daughter doesn't face the same challenges that I face. Entrepreneurship will evolve. I'll go on to do other things or whatever. It's not just about this moment. It's really about showcasing to her that I know how to be solution oriented from solving problems. I understand how I'm going to teach her to do that that's going to make her marketable at anything she does. And my life has been that. It's not been this red carpet. It has shown me through the valleys how to be solution oriented, so that I can be an asset to solve problems.
And with having a daughter now, is Boss Woman Media like a legacy play, or if somebody approached you and wanted to buy it outright, would you be open?
No, it is definitely, Boss Woman Media is definitely conversations for acquisition. And there are brands specifically that we are going after to make that happen.
It's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing. And one question I got before we get out is, so with you doing so much, I want to focus on two parts which kind of work together simultaneously, because we both do it: media and events, right? Through media, we tell stories, we build community. Through events, we kind of let our community engage and inform more. For somebody who wanted to start off, didn't know where to start, what advice or what steps you would give them to starting a media company in 2022?
Yeah, I would say for them, what is the experience that you crave? And how, and then in return, can you deliver that experience for someone else? So for me, it was, how could I create this experience that Black women needed in a way that was fun and exciting and delivered all things a woman, right? That's what I was able to deliver. How you deliver it is totally differently than how I deliver it. How someone listening, they know what they want to see. Deliver it that way. Don't try to mimic someone else's delivery on it, because it's always going to be better when you use your own sauce to deliver it versus trying to copy someone else's.
That's amazing, and it's true to sense, because you can see when people try to copy others and it never comes out authentic or organic. It looks staged, and it doesn't come out right. So no, that's great. First and foremost, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I know COVID and the pandemic is serious, so I'm glad we could finally make this conversation happen. 2022 for us is definitely about, more reaching out to people that we built. Not even if it's for a collaboration, but just to kind of build on relationships to make sure, hey, that we're here for you, and vice versa if you need anything, vice versa. So that's why I definitely wanted to get you here, share some of your story. With you being an entrepreneur, there's tons of stories you can tell. So I feel like you kind of be like one of our recurring guests as we keep going on.
Absolutely.
The more we grow, we can grow together. So.
And listen, we haven't tapped into fellas yet, into the brand, but when we do, you are top on the list for sure.
Nah, you know what? I'm not even fazed, because, like, I have a 14-year-old daughter. So this is something to where, if there's something she can't learn from my platform, I can always be like, hey, I have a friend, she has this platform, if you need somebody to talk to, ideas, and now so it's relationships. So
that's it.
Now, as a young woman, she has somebody she could talk to, and I could help her in whatever journey she pursues. So
absolutely.
I'm okay with it. So
that's dope.
Again, thank you for your time. Please follow Boss Woman Media on Instagram. Twitter, go to the website. She also has memberships for her community. If you're a woman and want to get tapped in, corporate or entrepreneur, she has tons of gems, download content. I definitely suggest you tap in. We at CoSign Magazine, CoSign Boss Woman Media. And as always, please continue the CoSign life. We're out. Hey guys, what's good? Thanks for supporting CoSign Magazine by watching this video. If you really enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.